All right, guys, we've brought Thomas Neff on the channel. You know him from his podcast, the Northern Football Podcast, of course, but now you're also going to know him from being a part of the One Soccer team. He got a new role there, a digital content creator. So, Thomas, congratulations and thanks for coming on today.
Josh, thank you. It's a pleasure to come on as always, and happy to be your colleague now. We'll be doing some good things at One Soccer in the future, at least for the next 8 weeks. Hopefully more. We'll have to see. We'll have to sit with the bosses, but nonetheless, it's exciting. What has transpired. It's been a chaotic, kind of last week or so in Canadian soccer, but nonetheless, some positive news which we'll get into.
Yeah, and we got you come on for the first One Soccer video, and I kept you a little later to do this little preview here for the upcoming match against Panama. And I want to just jump right into it. My first question for you, Thomas, is obviously there was some excitement about Iran, just simply the opponent. We're not going to get into the political side, but the opponent of Iran, a quality side going to the World Cup, and we wanted to see how Canada was going to match up against them. It's been replaced. I mean, kudos to the Canadian Soccer Association for at least finding an opposition. It's Panama is still a good side within CONCACAF, but what was your initial reaction when Panama was announced?
Look, at the end of the day, the benefit of facing Iran was that you were going to get a pro-Iran crowd at BC Place. These nations have been going to the World Cups for the last 5 to 6 editions of the World Cup. And I can tell you myself, as someone who went to the 2018 World Cup in Russia, that the countries that go to the World Cup, they get more tickets slotted to them. They get higher priority. They get sometimes at the same time, all the countries going to the World Cup, they get the same kind of timeline to buy tickets. So where I'm going with this is, against Belgium, against Croatia, against Morocco, Canada is going to be playing against pro crowds for their opponents. And I thought that playing against Iran at BC Place, there was going to be a good chance, for them to really see what it was going to be like. Just kind of, I think that would have been a nice kind of World Cup, kind of environment for them, just because they have been so used to pro home crowds, with the exception of El Salvador, of course. And nonetheless, let's not sugarcoat this at all, Josh. It is a massive blow that Iran will not be coming to Canada, because it is a World Cup opponent, and if Canada cannot really get themselves a similar opponent, similar level of opponent in September, I mean, Lake Bontas said on the Northern Football Podcast with Alex and Peter that at the end of the day, he will be, looking to an European tour. They have different options, maybe even play some games in Qatar, a neutral venue. So they definitely have a lot on the table. But nonetheless, if Iran, with being replaced now with Panama, if they're not able to get another like a World Cup team in September, just because there isn't no FIFA window in October, I think it is gonna sting for sure. Just because, don't get me wrong, Panama, good team, but they are not going to the World Cup. They just missed out on the continental playoff spot with Costa Rica. I was kind of following that along how that was, but at the end of the day, I mean, a 3-match window, all CONCACAF teams. There is definitely it just sucks. I just think it just sucks because at the end of the day, yes, it is a friendly, very positive to do, and kudos to Canada Soccer for getting that. But it is just simply not the same.
Yeah, and again, given the big overwhelming response I got was a little disappointed with nothing against Panama. They just simply would have taken almost anyone outside of CONCACAF. But we were relieved that we were able to get a third matchup, just see how important it was, because every match is going to be so critical for the Canadian players to get some chemistry, get the team building together, and get preparation for the World Cup. But now I just want to take a look at the context of this upcoming window for you, because when I was looking at it before and taking a look at Iran, for me, that was a match. That was taking on a World Cup opponent. It was taking on a side that would give Canada a real challenge outside of CONCACAF. Is a huge thing for me when I was looking at this friendly. And I was almost going to see like they were going to go, it's a friendly still. So, I mean, the substitutions, obviously, there's a lot of them, but I still feel like Canada was going to take that very seriously and see how they matched up. And then the two actual competitive matches in the Nations League were kind of secondary. For me, I feel like it's changed. The friendly against Panama doesn't mean as much. It's now, in my opinion, probably more of an experiment. See a lot of the new players, especially Luca Koleosho, like that's a big one. And then, of course, then the more competitive matches, I guess I'm looking at that Honduras match, the Curacao as well. So I just want to get your perspective of how does it change the dynamic of this window?
But it 100% changes everything because at the end of the day, against Iran, you would have put maybe a preview of what starting 11 at the World Cup could look like. Now, the official matches in Nations League do take precedence over the friendly, without a doubt. And I think that Herman will try to experiment. However, I would not be surprised, Josh, if he kind of went with two very strong lineups in the first game and the second game, and then against Honduras, he tried a more experimental side. The reason I'm saying that is guys like Kyle Aaron, Jonathan David, they are coming off, and Alphonso Davies, of course, etc. They're coming off really busy seasons. And if you saw the interview that Jonathan David gave on FIFA Pro, these players are tired of playing long matches. Now, I'm sure their commitment to the Canadian program is solid. No one's debating that. But look, I mean, if Canada gets the job done against Curacao and against, obviously, Honduras finished last place in the Ocho. They got a new manager, Diego Vasquez, so they're really experimenting as well. They're still trying to figure things out. Canada has already figured things out. And at the end of the day, when are you ever going to test players out? I mean, I am not questioning Herman's decisions at all. I think he's played every card the right way. But at the end of the day, when you already know the 16 or 17 group of players that are going to Qatar, that are going to be on that plane, what about the 18 to 26? Because at the end of the day, there are still so many wild cards. We're months away, and we still don't know who those players might be. And I think this window, first and foremost, I think September will be more of a continuous of that. You will have to decide which players you will see. And that's why guys like Brahim got in, Koleosho, Edwards, because they're proving themselves. And then the guys that, were absent from this call-up, it's either through the injury or through to lack of playing time. So in the end of the day, I think Herman has to experiment this window. And if he doesn't, then there will be even bigger question marks to answer.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is I mean, Luka Koleosho is obviously a big one. Edwards and Brim, like you mentioned, those are the three newbies coming in here, and I'm really excited to take a look at them because I agree. A lot of, I guess, feedback is the fact that why doesn't Canada bring in the 28, 29 men squad? Why can't we see more of these players? And in my opinion, it's because John Herman wants to take a look at the core he has and then build, like you said, the outside around that, which is why you see the odd player now and then, but we know who's going to be there. That's who he wants to focus on, getting together, getting the chemistry right, and building a basically starting 11/game plan going forward. But taking a look at this friendly, and Luka Koleosho is a big one for me because, 17 years old, dual national, just made his La Liga appearance. Give me a number on minutes. How many minutes you think he would have played if this friendly, because we're assuming he's just going to play in the friendly. So let me know what number you think he's going to play if it was an Iran match versus now a Panama match.
I think against Iran, we could have seen maybe the 5-10 minutes. But against Panama, I think we'll definitely see 10 to 15 without a doubt. The thing with Koleosho is he's still so young, and just like guys like Jefferson and Flores, who's now decided to commit his allegiance to El Tri, Mexico. These guys are wanted by multiple countries, and I don't think that this friendly, just because of what has been reported, your good friend, tactical manager, the reason is here. the reason is well, let's put it that way. But there's always a nice rivalry with the U.S. The reason here is it is just a friendly, and it is not a cap tying opportunity. In fact, I don't think it has to do much with the Nations League matches. But Koleosho's plan, from what has been said, was always to have a full preseason with Espanyol's first team. So a lot of people are saying Koleosho maybe could join the U20s in July in San Pedro Sula, or maybe Tegucigalpa, in Honduras, where Canada plays. But no, that was never the plan. He was always going to be, focusing his first full professional season with Espanyol. And hey, I mean, he's very young. So in fact, if he is going to get a lot of minutes, not a lot of minutes, but bench appearances for Espanyol, more of them, then he has to be there from day one, and cannot afford to, put his national team career ahead of his club career. But nonetheless, I think Koleosho has a great opportunity. But I also do ask people, watching this video, listening to this video, to proceed with caution, because Theo Corbeanu, when he was 17, when he played, made his Premier League debut with Wolves, and look where he is now. I mean, it is a process. He hasn't done bad. He's done good, in League One. But at the end of the day, he is so young. You look at a guy like Ugbo. It didn't work out for him in England. It worked out in the first season in Belgium. It didn't work out with the second club. Now he's in Liga. So a player from the age of 17, 18 to 22, 23 can just be completely different. So at the end of the day, these players need time to develop. And just because they've made their national team debuts at 17, 18, doesn't mean that they're going to be superstars. Look at Samuel Pietz. I mean, he made his debut for Canada literally 10 years ago against the U.S. in that centennial match as a 16-year-old. But he never made it to a top 5 league. In the first team, he was in the academy of Bundesliga clubs, of Metz in Liga, and obviously playing for Deportivo La Coruña's second team. But and right now he's not even he's in the bottom part of our midfielder depth chart. So just an example like that, Piet making his debut for Canada age 16, and obviously guys like Hutchinson and Eustáquio, Osorio, and Kay are way over him. So people, you have to be patient. He is just so young.
Yeah, and that's the thing with a dual national. When his future's up in the air, so you got to focus on what can help develop you as a player. At 17, he wants that opportunity to impress at the first team, and that's when the young players are going to get their opportunity. They can break their way in, and they can find a starting minutes and keep developing. That's where you're going to see the biggest growth. Yes, it's going to be nice, but I mean, at the end of the day, whether he played all 3 games or not, then he's back in. He's got to focus on what he has to do at home. So he's going to test the waters. Very curious to see what it's going to be like around someone like Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David. Put the picture in his mind of what could be. Let him play. And like you said, I kind of agree with you about that. I would have thought maybe if it was the Iran match, he'd come in around the 75th minute towards 80. Now I'm hoping to see him come in around the 60th. We're hoping for that, get a nice little flash of what could be. But looking at the 3 newbies, and basically now kind of 2, because we know that Koleosho is only going to really feature in the friendly. So I guess between Brim and Edwards, who do you think is going to have the bigger impact, and who do you think has a better chance of fitting into Herman's system in a starting 11?
I think it's going to be Raheem Edwards, just because he in 2018 when Herman was announced, Edwards was still part of the call-ups in that setup. Now it's been a really long time for Edwards. We're talking like 4 years now. Brim, however, is more of a recall from October of last year. He played in the octagonal, but the reason that I'm saying that is that in what I saw from Brim with Canada, I was not that impressed. I thought he could have done a lot better. Now, he is so young, and again, we just keep continuing, repeating this word, but it is true, guys. I mean, with Brim now having a very good season with FC Eindhoven, now recently being transferred to Sparta Rotterdam in Eredivisie, he has a very good opportunity. He's already made his debut in the first division of Belgium. Didn't pan out there, but now in Holland, he has a good opportunity there. I think Edwards, with the season he's having, he's shoot in to be an MLS All-Star by the end of the year. You cannot underestimate the experience of this guy, and it's been a long time coming, because I remember in March it was when Herman was asked about a potential Edwards call, and he said that he was in the radar. He said that he was in the long list, recruiting. Obviously, going through the list. I mean, at the end of the day, Herman obviously calls up 23, 25 in this case. 24 with Jonathan Osorio, getting out of the call-up due to injury. But he always has that list of 30, 35, even 40, as far as I've heard from some players out in the cusp. So I think Edwards has a bigger chance to be that. Not only that, but I think the turf, I think, will benefit Edwards more than Brim, just because Edwards, he plays in MLS. He knows that some MLS stadiums do have turf, so I think he'll be able to adapt nicely. And Edwards knows these guys a lot better. Yes, he may not be playing, with them in the national team setup for 4 years, but he's still around the MLS. He still knows. He still keeps in touch with them. A lot of the TFC guys as well. He played in Montreal. So I definitely think that someone like Edwards has a bigger chance. But Brim, I'm sure he's being slotted in for 2026 as well. So we'll have to see what kind of, if Herman's looking to win now, or if he's looking for, more towards the future, or a bit of both.
Yeah, and when I was looking at the squad list when it was released, I was really excited. Koleosho, you get the dual national in there, and then in my opinion, you get 2 of the most informed Canadians that there's out there. I mean, Edwards, towards the end of his LAFC spell, honestly just turned it up. He was really impressive, and I was maybe curious, all right, where is he going to go? Galaxy recognized it. They brought him in, and like you mentioned, If there's a best 11 right now, I don't know if there's a left back that's ahead of Edwards. At least he's very close in my opinion. So this is a recall based on form. I would say the same for Brim. Incredible season at Eindhoven. He got his move. He's going to be playing in the Eredivisie, which is just a league I'm very excited to see how he can thrive in. And I hope they both get a huge opportunity. I would love to see them both honestly start a game. And I'm a little torn as well. I'm a little torn because I agree Edwards probably has a better chance. But I'm just trying to think how you get him in that system, because you have Alphonso Davies in there, you have Adekubi in there. So depending on how he wants to shift it around, that left-hand side is the reason, in my opinion, why Edwards have taken so long to get this recall. As for Brim, I mean, Miller's out. Corbiano's not really getting looked at anymore. The winger is a little lighter, so maybe there's a potential there. But regardless, I would like to see one of them potentially start. And I just want to get your little thoughts as well on Koleosho and kind of the impact of what this camp could mean for him, because this is a first impression. And I kind of said that the first impression might not have went as smoothly with the cancellation of the Iran match, but we've bounced back. He's going to have the opportunity to train and see the likes of these star players and get that brotherhood mentality in there. How much do you think this is going to have an impact on his international future? Do you think it's going to help shift it, or do you think he's going to be still very open-minded and maybe give the U.S. a test someday?
Well, before answering the Koleosho thing, just want to add 2 things here. I'm actually surprised that this match is not being, these 2 matches, I should say, are not being marketed as a send-off to the World Cup. Maybe there's a home match in the works in September. Just wanted to say that, because it is really interesting, at the end of the day. And the other thing, too, is this is the first match that's being played in BC Place since 2019. That means that Davies gets a home match, you could say. I guess his second home being Vancouver, because obviously what he did with the Whitecaps. So I think the protagonism will be given to those kind of players. But I do believe that there is still space for someone like Koleosho. It does matter. It does matter because this is the first senior national team that he's going to be playing for, or he's going to be at least training with. Again, he's been part of the U15 and U20 of the U.S., so I think the U.S., from that perspective, he'll always have the U.S. as his first experience, his first memory. But let me tell you, I mean, from players that I've interviewed over the years, there is nothing like a senior call-up. A senior call-up means that the manager, the federation, has plenty of confidence in you. And to think that Greg Berhalter didn't look at Koleosho and said, you know what, he played 3 minutes in La Liga, let's call him up. I've been saying this for the longest time possible, Josh. And this is not to say that I'm, pro-U.S. or anything. The U.S. player pool is much, much bigger than Canada's. You look at the players that are playing in the first teams of teams in Europe, and the list goes 50, 55, 60 players. Now, do I think that the quality over quantity? I mean, you look at the players that are playing in world-class clubs. A lot of them were injured last year, or they were bench players. So I think it's definitely quality over quantity here. But I think that's part of the reason why Koleosho wasn't called up as well, because we have seen in the past. I mean, there's a player, Senesi, who got called up both for Italy and Argentina for this cup match in Wembley Stadium. Italy, obviously, champions of Euros. Argentina, champions of Copa America. So you have seen those situations where players are called up for the exact same match. But I think that's the reason why the U.S. doesn't, want him. And the other nations that, he's eligible for, I would personally argue that it's a long shot. Not because he may not be good enough. When you're playing in La Liga, you have all kind of opportunity, and you are getting looked at. But Nigeria, I think he has a better chance for there. It just depends what kind of identity he feels with them. But Italy, I think it's tough. It's tough because Italy is really known for wanting to call players that are playing in Serie A. And if it's not Serie A, then it's the PSGs and it's the Premier League. At least unless he made a move to a big La Liga club, then I think he's far away from Italy. Nigeria for sure, but again, don't know how much he really knows the culture there. So I think the U.S. Is the real threat here, and I think Canada has two steps ahead of the U.S. And I think I'm telling you, I agree with you. I think if he plays half an hour in that match as opposed to 5, 10, 15 minutes, then Canada has a very good chance of making Koleosho a final commit.
And I'm just trying to out loud, and I'm going to make you try to target it, or at least maybe critique my starting 11. This isn't what I think Herman's going to do because honestly, I mean, I don't know what Herman's going to do, but this is kind of a starting 11. I'm just going to
Nobody
build.
knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But this is a starting 11 I kind of would like to see for this friendly. And it's a mixture of talent, of where you want to see it, slash, maybe Victoria not playing a lot, having David in the minutes that he mentioned. So I'm just going to build this very quickly and give me a critique and let me know how you maybe change it. But I'm going to say, I mean, the net I didn't even really think of. I'll throw a wild card. Let's throw Crepeau in it. Let's see what we can do there. At wing back, I'm going to throw Tajon Buchanan. The system's going to be a 3-4-3. So right wing back is Tajon Buchanan. Right center back is going to be Alistair Johnston. Central center back, try it out. We need to see how it's going to go. Put Scott Kennedy in there. Outside left, we have Kamal Miller. Left wing back, we have Adekubi. 2 center mids, because I'm assuming Hutch probably won't start in a friendly. I'm going to go with Kay and Eustachio. And then the 3 wingers, have Alphonso Davies out on the left. Try Brim, cutting onto that left foot of his. Try him on the right. And then have Laren through the middle, giving David a little bit of rest. How would you like to see a system like that? And obviously, if you wanted to really test it out, swap Edwards with Adekubi.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think your starting 11 has a lot of good things. Crepeau, for example, just to give you a quick example there, he is not far off from being Canada's number 1 ahead of Milan Borjan. Buchanan, I think, is an interesting one because he started, with Club Brugge as a fullback. I think he can definitely fit in nicely there. And look, I mean, with Victoria and Henry not getting enough minutes this year, that is the one major concern heading into the World Cup. Kennedy is a player that has played in the central position before, and he's very tall, which I think helps for a central defender because you are going to be heading a lot of those balls and getting in the air a lot in aerial duels. I think, you trust him out, and if it works out, then heck, I mean, Kennedy, the spot is yours. And then if you want to replace, a left center foot, a left-footed center back, then you bring up Derek Cornelius, who has been playing this year in Greece, just behind Kamal Miller to make space. Interesting decision to put Kay in. We know Hutchinson doesn't play all 3 matches. Brim, I think, is the big wild card to see how much will he really be involved in this window. I'm sure Herman's not going to put him into the fire right away. I'd be surprised if that is the case. And I think, look, I mean, the rest of the lineup, I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, no real surprises there, but Davies playing there. I think maybe Edwards ahead of someone like Adekubi. But I mean, Adekubi, with the season he's had, it's only maybe a matter of time until he finds a better club than Hatayspor, who collectively Hatayspor did not do too well in the Turkish league. Something that may come as a surprise to soccer fans, Canadian soccer fans, that is, because Hatayspor was in 6th place when Adekubi signed. They were kind of pushing for the Europa League playoffs and whatnot. So, personally speaking, I would kind of put it differently, but nonetheless, that's still a pretty solid 11.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a wild card. I wanted to get the conversation going. So, guys, let me know in the comments how you think Canada potentially will line up. And we're going to have one final question before we go here, Thomas. And it's simple. I do it every time we do a preview. It's a score prediction. I know it's a friendly. It's at home. It's back at BC Place. We don't know what the starting 11 will look like, but how do you see this one going?
Look, considering Panama didn't finish the qualification strong enough, surprised, to be honest with you, that they still have Thomas Christensen as head coach. Most managers, once they don't accomplish the World Cup berth, most managers just retire. But I think the expectations of Panama weren't really that high. I would say against Panama, Canada will be 2-0. They'll find a way to score 2 goals no matter what, whether it comes from the Davies, the Larens, the Eustachios of the world, or if it comes from, someone like Brim or someone like Edwards or someone like Adekubi. I think that Canada has more than enough, and on paper, very, very strong squad. Nonetheless, 25 a man with a couple of surprises as curveballs, as we know that Herman likes to give all of us. 2-0, Canada takes this, and I'd be surprised if Canada throughout the window doesn't come out with anything less than 7 points, just because we are still facing CONCACAF opposition, and hopefully that changes. But 2-0 is my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, considering it's a friendly, you never know. They can be kind of boring, but I was going to say 2-0 as well, but I will change it to 3-1, make it a little more exciting, get 4 goals in there, give the people at BC Place a real reason to smile when they leave, guys. But Thomas, I appreciate you coming on so much, my friend. We're going to link his Twitter, the Northern Football Podcast, in the description. Be sure to check him out. Give him a congrats as well for joining up with the One Soccer team. And until next time, guys, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. We'll see you soon. Cheers, friends.